Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us here today as we celebrate the graduation of the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office Regional Training Academy, Cadet Class 44. My name is Lieutenant Pete Golden, and I will be this afternoon's Master of Ceremonies. On behalf of the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, it is my distinct pleasure to present to you the cadets of Class 44.
Class 44, so, first!
Please stand for the presentation of the colors by the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office Honor Guard. Remain standing for the national anthem, sung by Sofia Rodriguez, followed by the invocation by Pastor Jason Peck. For the uniformed personnel in the audience, since we are indoors, if you are not wearing your cover, upon the command to present arms, please do not salute, but use your right hand and cover your heart. If you are wearing your cover, please salute upon the command of present arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets were the bombs bursting in it gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Order, go. Right, peace. Forward, up. Class 44, order, up.
Will you all please be seated?
Class 44, move, up.
Can they be seated? Cadets, go ahead and, or graduates, please be seated.
Take seats.
Good afternoon. I'd like to start off with a little bit of an encouragement to you all through the book of Romans. My name is Jason Peck. I'm a retired police officer from the Albuquerque Police Department, but I have a long-standing history with Bernalillo County, primarily their SWAT team, as I was a SWAT officer myself and I worked undercover. But my dad, he started with the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department, and he still is. He's got to be around 36, 37 years old with the Sheriff's Department. And my brother was our sheriff's undersheriff at one point in time. So I'm grateful and honored to be here to share with you an encouragement from Romans chapter 13. It says, "Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, For there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that are existed are appointed by God. I believe, as this was written to the Romans, that it was speaking of the authorities that were put into place, the centurions, who were the military police force at the time. It goes on, it says, therefore, knowing that the authorities are appointed by God, that you're appointed by God, that you guys have been put into this position, not by choice, but that God put it upon your heart to choose this honorable profession. It says, therefore, speaking to the general public, the society, on how to interact with authority that God put them. It says, therefore, whoever resists the authority, resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment upon themselves. For rulers are not a terror to do good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same. For he is God's minister for you for good. But if you do evil, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain, for he is God's minister, an avenger to execute wrath upon him who practice evil. God has made it very clear that there is a supernatural force between good and evil, and it is God who put it into the hearts of men and women to stand in the gap to protect the innocent for those who practice evil. Those who practice evil will bring judgment upon themselves. It's not what you are going to do to them. It's what they have. It's the choices that they make that cause you to interact with them in such a way. Now it says that you're God's avenger to execute wrath. Wrath comes in the form of judgment. But as ministers for good, it comes as a great sacrifice. It comes as a sacrifice to yourself, a sacrifice to your family, and to your friends. And it's not a calling that should be taken lightly. And I know that you have understood that because you have persevered these last 27 weeks to get where you are. But this minister for good, Jesus said he came to serve, not to be served, and to give his life a ransom for many. And that's the heart of a police officer, is it not? Is that a police officer is called to serve his community, his fellow man, and if necessary, lay down his life for others. You see, you're going to see many dangers and life-threatening situations over your career. But just know that the love that you have for one another and the willingness to put your life on the line in behalf of those who are weaker, that's the thing that is going to make you persevere, is love. In John 15:14, it says, "No one has greater love than this, to lay his life down for his friends." And of course, I pray that it never comes to that. But the reality of it is the courage that you have in your hearts to be willing to do that comes from God and God only. You're going to see a lot of wickedness and a lot of evil. But I tell you, please do not lose sleep over those who are practicing evil in this world. My prayer is that the wicked lose sleep because of you. May your mere presence change the hearts of those who practice evil. The Bible says that many are called, but few are chosen. As I understand it, there was over 20 of you when you started this calling, but only 12 have been chosen. I think of Jesus and his 12 disciples changing the entire world upside down for good, with 12 people who were called according to his purpose. And here I look at you 12, and my prayer is that God uses you to change the world around you. Now let us pray. Heavenly Father, we're so grateful and thankful as I look at these men and women here, these 12, and all the others who are in this room who have worn the badge or who are currently wearing the badge, and those who are out there standing in the gap against good and evil as we sit here and we celebrate this joyous time. Lord, may you always keep them safe, that you always give them courage in the sight of fear. Lord, give them wisdom to execute your office well and according to their purpose, to be a servant of all. Lord, we ask you these things in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Ronald Reagan once said, "We remember those who were called upon to give all a person can give, and we remember those who were prepared to make that sacrifice if it were demanded of them in the line of duty, though it never was. Most of all, we remember the devotion and gallantry with which all of them ennobled their nation as they became champions of a noble cause." I would like to ask anyone who has served or is currently serving in the United States Armed Forces to please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your service. You may be seated. I would also like to recognize any retired local, state, and federal law enforcement who is in the crowd this afternoon as well, if you would please stand and be recognized. Before we continue, there's a few seats down here in the front, this third row from the front. There are several seats available. If anyone in the back would like to come down and sit, you're welcome to. For the past several months, our cadets have been taught and trained, honed and sharpened, and drilled and driven. Many have been pushed beyond what they thought were their own limitations. These cadets have excelled and conquered adversity with grit and vigor. It is apparent these cadets have learned from their training. Our staff videographer, Elizabeth Vaquera, has been documenting the progress of Class 44 and has prepared a video presentation. Please roll the video.
As a retired military officer, law enforcement people are my tribe. We intervene in the community's crises instead of just sit on the sidelines, and that matters to me.
The reason I want to be a BCSO deputy is to help people, and also it's kind of just sounds like a lot of fun.
I wanted to become a deputy with the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Department because I want to serve and protect our county.
I chose a profession in law enforcement. I wanted a career that I thought would be kind of exciting. You need to be selfish to be selfless, and I thought becoming a deputy was a good way of doing that.
I chose to become a deputy because I wanted to give back to my community.
I want to become a deputy because I want to serve and protect my community. I chose BCSO because of their reputation, and I want to be part of that reputation.
I want to become a deputy because I want to help my community in any way as possible.
This is where I feel God called me to be. It's a calling from Him for me to go serve other people, contribute to society.
Because I wanted to do something that I felt was important when we interact with people in the worst day of their lives, and I wanted to be that helping hand for people.
I've always been in the nature of helping people and sticking up for the smaller man, so I always wanted to defend people from the bullies of the world, and I wanted to be in a job that really means something where you can make a difference.
Sit up straight! Eyes on me! Sit up straight, I said! As the lieutenant stated, I am Drill Instructor Monarch. To my left is Drill Instructor Cadet. From this point forward, you will refer to us as Drill Instructor, for we have earned this title. Each of you have a dream of becoming a deputy sheriff. I can promise this will not be an easy task. The title of deputy sheriff is always earned and never given. Each day, you will be faced with choices that will determine the outcome of your life. You will learn that every decision has a consequence, good or bad. It is our job as drill instructors to mold you into law enforcement officers who are professional, humble, and hardworking. It is our job to prepare you to be warriors and ensure you are fit to fight. A warrior is someone who promises to protect those that cannot protect themselves and is ready for all things. This is a daunting task that will require tremendous physical and mental fortitude. When you decide to turn your back on what is comfortable, this is where it begins. The easy way will always be there to welcome you if you allow it. You must push back against your fears and never quit. I can promise that you will give up on yourself far before we, as your drill instructors, will ever give up on you. Joining law enforcement means your life is no longer the #1 priority, but you will never be given permission to die in this profession. Law enforcement is one of the most dangerous and highly scrutinized professions in the country. The public demands a highly trained professional that can control their emotions and resolve dynamic situations with split-second thinking. In this career, you will be required to show compassion, and at times become violent to stop someone's unlawful actions. If you have joined this career solely for a check, you're in the wrong place. This job will demand many sacrifices. Every aspect of your life must remain in order to have a successful career. You will learn in this academy that prior planning prevents piss-poor performance, and that hope is not a tactic. You must be unwilling to accept hope, because hope is the last thing someone does that is not prepared. The Regional Training Academy does not graduate the best person, but the right person. We are just not concerned with the results. We are most concerned with the process. For a good process will lead to good results. If you plan to graduate this academy, you must buy into our process. Some of you sitting in those seats will not see graduation day. This job is not for everyone. The church is yours. If you think you're up to the task, then get ready. For the grind starts today, and it starts right now. Class 44 on your feet! Upon the command to fall out, you will proceed to the fall in with the purpose. Fall out! Get out of here! Hurry up! Hurry up! Go! Hurry up! You're walking, hurry up!
Burlington County Sheriff's Department's Range Master. We'll have the cadets out here for approximately 150 hours of firearms training. The first block is going to be the handgun block with 80 hours of handgun training where they'll be learning the basics of firearms, basics of ballistics. They'll be shooting day ball and night qualification courses. They'll also be learning to shoot on the move, pivots, as well as from barricades and from the vehicle and around you.
Shooting all the rounds is good. A lot of practice. I definitely improved over the week, and I feel like all the cadets also improved in the week. We did a lot of nice things. A couple of bumps in the road here and there, especially for myself, but overall I felt really good.
We go over the very basics of the vehicle control, how to properly steer, shuffle steer your vehicle, and then we break down to skills, more advanced maneuvering skills, consoles, crash avoidance, should something appear, how to be out of nowhere and you need to avoid it while operating the vehicle, the emergency equipment at speed, lane changes, backing, and threshold braking. To brake without locking the vehicle up and still maintaining control.
It's been very eventful. Coming in, I thought I was a pretty decent driver. I thought I was a pretty good driver. I did not know how to drive before. now I'm a much better driver. I wouldn't say I'm the best driver, but I definitely learned a lot. And it really shows you how much you don't know, even though you think you do.
The purpose of the defensive tactics block is to teach the cadets custody and control techniques consistent with law and SOP, to minimize the use of force when an assaultive or resistive suspect. The defensive tactics program is designed to teach cadets to succeed in these encounters. The program provides cadets that have never experienced a violent physical altercation an opportunity to learn in a controlled environment while concentrating on realistic training with the most up-to-date techniques. These cadets are pushed to their physical, mental, and emotional limit with no other option but the mindset of succeeding and going home after every shift. Cadets of Class 44, always remember, relax, breathe, and think. You are capable of more than you think as you demonstrated during the defensive tactics block. Keep improving on what is a perishable skill. 48.
It's definitely been the most challenging physical pursuit I've ever been through. Definitely feel like I got in a car accident after the last 2 weeks, but I learned a lot of skills that I wouldn't have learned anywhere else. So I appreciate that.
I'm one of the advanced instructors here in the Sheriff's Office. Taser is a less lethal tool that we have in the department. It's very popular across the country. It causes what's referred to as neuromuscular incapacitation. Essentially, it kind of freezes at the body, the nervous system, and the muscular system to cause a person to basically freeze up. It really helps them in the future with confidence when they deploy their tasers. It can be very intimidating if you haven't had experience manipulating it, or if you don't have experience feeling what the sensation is to have neuromuscular incapacitation. Having that experience is going to help them deploy it in the field with confidence, and it's really going to help them have confidence going hands-on with the subject to detain them after a taser deployment. It can be very intimidating, the electricity, the sound of it, but once you go through it, it brings that intimidation factor.
It's been challenging. Various aspects have been different. Sometimes it's more physical, sometimes it's more mental. It's been a fun ride so far. It's been difficult, but it's also been rewarding as well.
master's level, the cadets are required to combine everything they've learned throughout the academy. Each scenario is graded by an instructor, and deputies from different divisions within the sheriff's office participate in acting and evaluating the scenarios.
It's been stressful, but stressful in a good way. It's putting everything together. All the puzzle pieces finally coming together as one, and being able to do so in a matter of space.
Respect others, carry the badge of honor, carry on a good reputation for others for leadership.
I find my core message to classroom 4 is to stay humble, know that you're not the best. Wake up every morning feeling and knowing that you're not the best. And if you feel that way or you know that, you should strive to become better. And in doing so, always at work, the person next to you, that should be your goal. And again, keep your head high, work hard, follow the rules, and you'll have a long success.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Always so well done.
Last 44. Attention. Right. Guys. Forward. Forward. Last 44. Left. Right. Take. Six.
Before we continue, I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize some dignitaries in the audience this afternoon. Sheriff-elect John Allen and his staff, would you please stand to be recognized? One of our current SWAT doctors, Doc Soloff, would you please stand? If I missed anyone else, I apologize. It was unintentional. At this time, I would like to call up the command staff and distinguished guests. As I call your name, please join me on stage. Sheriff's Executive Assistant, Michelle Martinez. Sergeant of the Regional Training Academy, Ryan Zamora. Captain of the Professional Standards and Training Division, Brandon Blackman. Chief Deputy of the Administrative Services Division, Lori Carrillo. Cabinet Secretary of the Department of Public Safety for the State of New Mexico, Jason Bowie. District Court Judge, the Honorable Cindy Leos. Undersheriff of the Operations Bureau, Brian Lindley. Undersheriff of the Administrative Bureau, Joshua S. Campos. Sheriff Manuel Gonzalez III has devoted his adult life to the service of our country and community. Sheriff Gonzalez is a veteran, having served honorably in the United States Marine Corps. He has an associate's degree in criminal justice, a bachelor's degree in management with a minor in occupational education with a specialization in law enforcement, a graduate of Northwestern University's School of Police Staff and Command and the FBI National Executive Institute. In 2020, he was appointed by U.S. Attorney General William Barr to serve on the President's Commission of Law Enforcement and the Administration of Justice. He began his career with the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office in 1989. Over the next 23 years, The sheriff served in all divisions, commands, and shifts within the department. Relentlessly, he worked his way through the ranks of the department and was promoted to sergeant, lieutenant, and captain. He was unanimously appointed to sheriff on November 30th, 2009 by the Bernalillo County Commission when the previous sheriff resigned. He was sworn into office in January 2015 for his first elected term as sheriff, and in 2018 he was re-elected for a second term. Sheriff Gonzalez and his command staff share a vision of the sheriff's office as a model law enforcement agency. His experience and proven track record are essential to maintaining public trust, strengthening community relations, and providing fair and impartial services to the community. Both lifelong residents of Albuquerque, the sheriff and his wife Elaine, are raising their family in the same community where they were raised. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please help me welcome to the podium Sheriff Manuel Gonzalez III for this afternoon's opening remarks.
Good afternoon and welcome. I just wanted to make mention prior to starting, the video you witnessed was done by Elizabeth Cadet. She's been a long-standing member of the Sheriff's Office. I just want you to keep her maybe in your mind, thoughts and prayers, because just yesterday her brother had a major heart attack. So if you would just please do that for her and her family. We really appreciate that. She's done a wonderful job over the years. This is my last academy for my tenure as the sheriff. I've had the opportunity to be blessed for 9 years to be the sheriff. And of those 44 classes, I've at least put out or produced 10 of those. I don't say myself, my staff has. And they've done an excellent job in doing that. So I really appreciate them. I also want to recognize some of the people that are outgoing with me. So if you're in the position of retiring in the next few days with myself, please stand up so you can be recognized. Under sheriffs. And I know there's a lieutenant or so and captains out there. Please give them a round of applause to be recognized. Thank you for your service. You've done an outstanding job over the last 8 years, so thank you. We do things a little bit different, and so this class is very unique to me in that, you know, I do a run with them the day prior to this happening. They get to mention a few words to me, what inspires them, and most times they're going to say their families, their loved ones, and all the sacrifices you've made. And just prior to me walking in the door, I had a conversation with a couple. One of them, one of the persons is a father that I went to school with, and he didn't really have an idea what his son was getting into, and neither did his mom. But I will tell you that I have all the faith and trust in my staff that they put out some of the best law enforcement officers in the whole country, as you witnessed in the video. And I have all the trust and faith in my staff, and that they're going to put everything they have, that their God-given ability into your loved one. Hopefully that makes you feel comfortable. I'd encourage you to be involved throughout their careers and maybe go to the Citizens Academy. I'd also encourage them to include you in any events they can, just like I did over the years with my family. I think it helps you understand and makes them feel a lot comfortable. That being said, I know you love the people that are in your loved ones today, and that's very special for all of us. But what we do a little bit different at the Sheriff's Office, just to kind of not be so tense and feel a little bit comfortable up here, is that I give you about as much time as you need to celebrate this. This is a celebration for all of us. Two things we look forward to: promotions and graduation day. And this is a big day. So what I want you to do, all the people that are here, is get on your feet. Just please stand up. And you're going to have the opportunity to express yourself as loud as you want in the celebration of your loved one. However you want, you can make as much noise, and it'll come to a fever pitch. And then once I see that kind of going down, then we'll get back to business. So at this time, go ahead and have the time. Well done. That's well done. By far, small class, most noise ever. All right. You guys can have a seat. So now it's not a stuffy in here. It's not a stuffy event. So this is a time to celebrate. I just want, again, thank my staff over the years. I appreciate all of you. I'm looking forward to the future, and we're here to support the incoming administration. They're the same people that we were working alongside. They have all our support. We appreciate them. We want them to be successful. So thank you for attending. We really appreciate that. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to the lieutenant, and I'd like to thank the lieutenant over the years for doing a great job being the MC and doing a great job at the academy. Thank you, Pete. We'll always appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Fighting with technology today, I apologize. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have this afternoon's keynote speaker, New Mexico Department of Public Safety Cabinet Secretary Jason R. Bowie. A respected police officer and administrator, Jason R. Bowie has worked in New Mexico law enforcement for decades. Bowie retired as a deputy chief of the Rio Rancho Police Department after a distinguished 27-year career in 2021. His law enforcement career spanned the experience of both an officer on the beat, building relationships with the community, and an administrator working to support those officers upholding the mission to protect and serve. In 1994, he began his public safety career as an officer in the Rio Rancho Police Department Patrol Division, serving 10 years in that role and earning Officer of the Year commendation in 2003. He was promoted in 2005 to the rank of sergeant, supervising the Patrol Division. He was reassigned and tasked to develop a special services unit composed of plainclothes officers responsible for the investigation and apprehension of violent and repeat offenders in both Rio Rancho and the metro area. The assignment required extensive partnership and collaboration with state and federal agencies, including the New Mexico State Police, the Albuquerque Police Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Drug Enforcement Administration, United States Marshal Service, and the Region 1 Drug Task Force. Concurrently, he developed and implemented the department's first SWAT K-9 unit, and in 2010, Bowie was promoted to lieutenant and in 2014 to captain, in which roles he served as SWAT commander and department operations commander respectively, in addition to the myriad of other managerial, administrative, and leadership duties. Since 1995, Bowie has served as a SWAT team member and eventually a SWAT team leader, attaining the positions of sergeant, lieutenant, and SWAT commander successively over the course of more than 23 years. As commander, he has successfully managed critical incidents and coordinated staffing and training, as well as having contributed to the agency's SWAT budgeting process. Bowie's extensive and varied training history includes instructor certifications and management courses in diversity, equity and inclusion, implicit bias for law enforcement, constitutional policing, active shooter, executive management, and more. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome today's keynote speaker, New Mexico Department of Public Safety Cabinet Secretary, Jason R. Bowie.
Thank you for that kind introduction. That's more recognition than I certainly deserve. I appreciate the sheriff a minute ago getting everybody to stand up and really celebrate, because just because we made robots out of all of them, that's not applied to the family members, and that really sets the right tone. I want to recognize for a minute Jason Peck. We served for many years on the SWAT team, me and Rio Rancho and him with the city of Albuquerque. I always enjoy you speaking. It really always hits home. And to your video, you guys do it like no other, really. I mean, it really, you guys have been out without your loved ones for a great amount of time, and to really be able to kind of see really what they've gone through during that time frame, it almost kind of makes it all worth it and kind of brings it all together. Thank you, Sheriff Gonzalez, for having me here today. I got a phone call from Captain Brandon Blackman. Where are you at? There you are, right there. And he said the sheriff had called him and told him that he wanted the absolute best speaker for this event. And then Brandon proceeded to tell me that he called those people and they were unavailable, so he called me. So True story, Brandon has not always been kind to me historically. So anyway, that said, before starting off this address, I just want to kind of acknowledge something first about the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office. And when I was working with Rio Rancho, there was a period of time when we made a decision as a police department to start sending our officers to the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office for training. And I wasn't part of that decision making, I was just an officer at the time. But what resonated with me was that when we got people out of the recruit school to come to Rio Rancho, how squared away they were, and probably at a higher level than we had seen up to that point. And again, that wasn't any decision that I was involved with, but I saw the direct impact of that when we started sending our officers here to the regional academy. And as I went on to have these different assignments in the metro area, I can tell you as well that working shoulder to shoulder with people from the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, I've never ran across a deputy that wasn't squared away and that didn't know what they were doing. And so you really have a top-notch organization here, and I've always been a pleasure to work alongside of them, and for that reason, it really is a privilege for me to be here today and to be able to speak and address you all. So thank you for that, Sheriff. Before acknowledging these recruits, I wanted to start off just for a minute by recognizing the families. I think it's really so important to recognize all of you for really laying a foundation and instilling the values in each one of these fine men and women that are sitting up here today. It's really without all of you that this wouldn't be possible, and we recognize that this is really a journey for all of them, and it's not just getting them through this academy process. For the next 25 years of their career, they're going to absolutely need your support. And so thank you for trusting your loved ones with us, and again, instilling the values in them, which is needed this day and age really to get through law enforcement. As I address the graduating class, I want to recognize and celebrate them, of course, for their demonstrated proficiency for more than 1,097 hours and 27 weeks. And if you guys don't know, I attend a lot of these. This is actually a 27-week program. It's about 10 weeks longer than what everybody else is doing. Even at the state where I'm at, and some of the other regional academies of the New Mexico State Police, which is under my charge, this program is longer, and I think it contributes again to what I just mentioned a minute ago as far as these deputies being so squared away. So anyway, I'll address the recruits now, or soon to be deputies. As we get started, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. It doesn't require you to get up or anything like that. You can do it right there where you're at in your seat. But I want you to take a moment and think about and be thankful for the ones that have invested into you up to this point. And I'm talking about your family members here. I want you to remember for a moment the love and support that you've received. So whether you were raised by an aunt or an uncle, brother, sister, mom, dad, grandparent, whatever, I want you to really think about the values, the guidance, the correction, and the discipline that you've been given throughout all your life. Really, without their support and their encouragement, you wouldn't be sitting here today. And also, I want you to think about for a minute how prideful you feel as you're completing this process. As you're sitting here today, what it's taken to accomplish what you have. Here in a little while, you'll have your badge pin on, and I can tell you from experience, it'll be one of the most amazing moments in your life. And I can tell you that we are exceptionally proud of you as well. So really take that in for a minute. And there's a reason why I'm kind of walking you through this exercise, if you will. I'm doing this for good reason. It's going to sound like I'm switching gears on you for a minute, like I'm down on law enforcement, and like I don't love you, and that's certainly not the case. But it's important that we talk about these things that are going on in law enforcement. One of the tasks that we have as chiefs or sheriffs or police administrators, if you don't know what a police administrator is, that's an old guy that sits in an office that talks about how good we used to have it and how tough as nails we were, and these soft kids these days, you know what I'm talking about. So whether you're a chief or a sheriff, we have the unfavorable task of deciding the discipline of our officers, to deciding at times those that we have to terminate from the profession. And although this is an unfavorable task, this is something we're not apologetic for. It is absolutely necessary to maintain the integrity of the organization and to maintain public trust as a whole. If we don't do those kind of things, we know what would come next. We have oversight committees, we have consent decrees, and all of those things that come if you do not police your own. For me at DPS, the most public-facing piece that I have is the New Mexico State Police, but there's a lot of other things that we do. We have the crime lab and we have the New Mexico Law Enforcement Academy. And through the academy, part of our responsibility is to take in what is called LEA 90s, and those are officer misconduct reports. And as we take those in, we then have to submit that information to the board, and the board then gets to decide whether or not to either suspend or revoke a law enforcement officer's license. And so, again, I want you to think about for a minute, and that's why I walked you through a bit of this exercise. You know, how does an officer go from sitting here filled with pride, appreciation for their family, all those things, get to a position where they get terminated, where the board has to make a decision whether to either revoke or to suspend their license? And I can tell you it's for good reason. When that happens very often is that the officer lost sight of what is important. They lost sight and they became entitled. They lose sight of what the values that were instilled with them by their family members and everything that they learned up to this point. And they become self-serving somewhere along that way, and they believe that the rules don't apply to them. And it happens all too often. If you look in the news just this week, a police officer charged with 2 counts of vehicular homicide. And so it really is hard to imagine losing it all. And so I want you to reflect for a moment and think about what it took to get here. Think about the application process, the written test, the physical fitness assessment, all the interviews that you had to go through, background, polygraph, psychological screening, chief selection, right? All your personal preparation before the academy even started, and 27 weeks of training. And like I said, well, it has been said, you started with 23 and there's only 12 of you remaining. So there are people that couldn't even muster and finish what you have finished and completed today. You will have 3 months of FTO training following this. And so we need you to really understand what all is on the line. And what we can do through any law enforcement program, we cannot prepare you for the practical application of law enforcement. We can give you the basic training, but it's up to you to go out there and to become highly functioning police officers, to put basically what you've learned into practice. So it really starts with the right mindset. We want you to become a model police officer, respected in the community, respected amongst your peers, really a leader in your community. The personal qualities and reputation of being committed, productive, honest, fair, courageous, and trusted. You really need to develop these qualities within yourself, and again, be mindful at all times of what is expected of you. The community holds police to a high level of public trust while expecting you to prevent crime, maintain order, and this is so important, to provide an equal and unbiased application of the law. You must be devoted and absolutely committed to perform your job to the highest standards at all times. And you really need to have that individual level of commitment and desire to serve. So it's really important that you keep those personal motivators going. We need strong police officers, men and women alike, in this profession now more than ever. And our strong police officers and deputies, they have an internal desire to really thrive in their environment. So what sets a police officer apart from everyone else in the community? When something happens in a community, something tragic or an event that really impacts our community, it's really the citizen that sits at home and they believe, man, am I glad that I wasn't there that evening? Am I glad that we were at home? And the police officer says, man, I wish I could have been there. I wish I would have been on the spot to be able to hopefully make that difference and have that impact. You don't want to have all this training on your belt and be at home hearing about it. You want to be there on the front lines in order to have an impact and make a difference within your community and hopefully save someone. So we ask you to be that highly functioning police officer. When we started shift, I remember when I started in law enforcement, there was a senior officer that always stood out to me. He really set the tone for the shift. I mean, he would pull down 3 arrests a night, and being fairly new, you pick that up fairly quickly, and you recognize that is really what your responsibility is, right? It's your job to go out there and find the serious crime that's occurring within your community. I've always said you can be aggressive in policing and seek out crime while doing so 100% constitutionally, right? Never finding a need to color outside the lines. And pretty quickly, the rest of us on shift adapted that same mentality that this officer had and tried to do absolutely the same. And we wouldn't be satisfied unless we had multiple arrests in an evening. Because at the end of the day, that's what is expected of us, is to really have an impact and make a difference. And we can do so while also giving compassion when it's appropriate and always giving respect that the person deserves. And like I said, at the beginning when I said about shifting gears on you, we absolutely do love you. I don't want you to feel like I'm down on you. Our commitment to you is strong as command officers. We absolutely love and we absolutely support you. We understand in the aftermath of dealing with calls for service year in, year out, violent crimes like robbery, child abuse, murder, assaults, all of these things eventually will take a toll on the most dedicated police officer, and we understand that. We understand that you're going to get off course. We understand that you're going to stumble at times. I used to tell my police officers, just don't get so far out there where I can't reach you. And what that meant is just don't step out from underneath the umbrella of protection, which is out there, which is your U.S. Constitution, New Mexico Constitution, state statute, your protocols, your procedures, your policies, all these things that are designed and intended to make sure that it protects you from being a police officer and the job that you're doing out there. This segues a little bit into the reputation and trust in general. When I was a SWAT operator, there was always one guy that I didn't want to let down, and that was my first SWAT sergeant. His name was Mark Nauman, and he was always the one that invested so much into each and every one of us. And years later, when I became a SWAT sergeant and I would bring new people onto the team, I always remembered it being so important to never let him down and to really focus on the reputation of the team up to that point. I didn't want to bring new people on that weren't going to keep that in the forefront of their mind and to really discredit us as a team. And I used to always say, you're only as good as your last call out. And what I meant by that, it doesn't matter if you have 200, 300 call outs under your belt. If you mess one up in a meaningful way, that's all that will be remembered. And as the years went on and I started having different assignments within the police department, I recognized pretty quickly that that really held true regardless of what my assignment was. It didn't matter if I was the SWAT sergeant or criminal investigations traffic unit deputy chief of operation. The reality is that that really held true regardless, and that we always need to be concerned with the reputation of our agency. And so I want you to remember, as you start out there, that there are a lot of people here within the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office that have laid a foundation for you and have worked so hard for you to be able to go out there and be successful. They have laid down blood, sweat, and tears, and many have made personal sacrifices or the ultimate sacrifice in order for you to have a foundation to go out there and be successful. And so never squander that, never take advantage of that. Always remember who you represent. And there's nothing more frustrating to whether you're a police administrator or whether you're boots on the ground that's working hard, to one officer out there having a bad day, doing something they're not supposed to be doing, and eroding that reputation for a person that's there day in, day out, working so hard to build that trust with the community. It only takes one. It only takes one person to mess that up. So remember who you represent. First, I would ask you to remember that who you represent is your name and your family's name, and we recognize them at the very beginning of this. That's who you represent first, and it's right there in your name tag each and every day. Because they will be going through it with you as well. If you cause discredit upon yourself, they'll be standing there with you and having to deal with that moment. So remember the department's name, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office, and you represent law enforcement in this country as a whole. If we mess up something here in the Albuquerque metro area, national news will certainly pick it up and make a story of it. And I will tell you that those stories get more momentum and will never, all the good work that we do out there will never be told with the same enthusiasm as those times when we come up short. So remember that public trust is not coincidental. It's a daily commitment and an investment. I hope as you go out there and really be the difference that you want to see. I hope I've impressed upon you that it's an absolute privilege to be a police officer. And I've always said this career has been rewarding in ways that I've never expected. So in closing, Class 44, I appreciate your accomplishments. Again, I appreciate your willingness. The commitment that you will be showing day in, day out deserves the community's gratitude. I thank you for joining the profession at a time when law enforcement needs you the most. May you always be safe out there. Return home after every shift. Godspeed.
Thank you very much, Cabinet Secretary. We appreciate your words of wisdom. During the past 27 weeks, the cadets of Class 44 have received the very best training possible. They received this training from professionals who provided 100% of themselves every day to further the training efforts of our academy. These professionals have prepared the cadets for the next steps in their careers. As the cadets leave the confines of the Regional Training Academy, they are prepared to take their newly acquired skills out into the real world. I would like to take this opportunity to formally thank the training staff for their dedication and efforts. Please hold your applause until I have acknowledged all members of the staff. Sergeant Ryan Zamora, Sergeant Teresa Sabah, Deputy Jeffrey Bartram, Sergeant Sam Rodriguez, Deputy Patrick Brown, Deputy Andrew Sadler, Deputy Amity Livingston, Deputy Jennifer Garcia, Deputy Anton Maltby, Deputy Lexi Rael, Deputy Robert Sears, Deputy John Dykes, Elizabeth Vaquera, and Xavier Klein. Thank you. Thank you all. You are an outstanding team. It's my honor and privilege to introduce to you the two individuals who exemplify service and professionalism. Their integrity and fortitude are without question. During the past 27 weeks, these are the two deputies with whom the cadets became the most attached. They're drill instructors, or DIs. Senior drill instructor Joshua Mora and junior drill instructor Leroy Chavez. The state of New Mexico requires 677 hours of basic training prior to certification. Our academy conducts 1.5 times this amount with over 1,000 hours of basic and advanced training. To conduct an academy of this magnitude requires monumental effort and could not be accomplished without the assistance of numerous adjunct instructors who provided Class 44 with the very best instruction. For those of you who taught or assisted with the instruction of any of the classes conducted at the Academy, would you please stand to be recognized? This would not have been possible without you. As many of you know, the Academy is only the start of a learning process that will continue for each of these cadets for many years to come. I now want to recognize the people who will take over for the DIs in the continued training of our cadets. These individuals will sacrifice much over the next 3 months to ensure that every cadet goes into service on their own and can be entrusted with the ability to handle service in their own right. These individuals are the field training officers, or FTOs. Would you please stand so you can be recognized as well? Thank you. During the Academy, much of a cadet's performance is graded, scored, and ranked. As a result, several cadets have been recognized and awarded for their exceptional performance in various skills throughout their training. At this time, I would ask each recipient to stand and be recognized for your performance. Please hold your applause until I have announced all the award winners. For academic achievement, Eric Way. For driving proficiency, Dylan Berryman. For firearms proficiency, Russell Ames. For physical fitness, Brian Castillo. Please give these cadets a round of applause for a job well done. You may take your seats. In addition to these awards, there's a cadet of Class 44 who will be recognized for our 291 award. Presenting the 291 award is Sergeant Ryan Zamora.
Hello, everybody. Before I start this, I just want to say thank you again to the drill instructors. I don't know that there is anybody during this 6 months that puts in the effort that they put in. Getting in early before the class starts. The prep started when they were in the seats of the cadets, but I really do want to thank them. So if y'all could just give them one more round of applause. I'm so proud of them. Thank you, TIs. The 291 award is meant to serve in honor of a fallen deputy. Her name was Angelique Garcia. Angelique Garcia was a part of Class 17, and some of the people from that class are still with our agency. I was going to say Deputy Chief, but Under Sheriff Brian Lindley, Chief Deputy Dunlap, and former Under Sheriff Corin, who along with 3 other great men lost their life in the crash this year. Very grateful for them. I spoke to them last year before giving this speech and learned a little bit more about Angelique Garcia. One of the things that Under Sheriff Corin told me was that her smile was penetrating, unforgetful, and unwavering. That was one of the things that he remembered about her. Chief Deputy Dunlap said that there was nothing you could do to take her fortitude away. She just always wanted to do better. You know, she wasn't the top shot, she wasn't the best at PT, she wasn't the best at driving, but if she came in last after a run, she'd be motivating everybody and still smiling. Sheriff Gonzalez told me a story that he remembered her coming to him when he was the instructor for the academy, asking him to help her improve her PT. And again, that just speaks to her willingness and eagerness to better herself. Chief Deputy Dunlap told me that he learned in his time with her that she found her passion for deputies in the sheriff's office growing up in the South Valley. And once she had her mindset on becoming a deputy, she just wasn't going to let that go. And that bled into her career before she lost her life in the line of duty. Just always staying after it and staying busy. So this award is meant to exemplify those attributes in one of our cadets. A few days ago, the cadets voted based on those things that we described to them, and they chose one of the soon-to-be deputies to receive this award. They'll know who I'm talking about before I announce the name, but I've known this person for a while. He was a reserve with our department before he received this award, and he kind of became the father, or maybe the grandfather, depending on his age, I'm not too sure, of this class. Just always leading them around. When things were chaotic, he just had a way of speaking with them and getting things prepared so that they looked good in front of their drill instructors. So the Bernalillo County Deputy Sheriff's Association donates $500 for this deputy to kickstart their career with equipment or whatever they may need. So soon to be Deputy Ames, please join me up here. Thank you. Back to the LT.
Last but not least is the award for valedictorian. This award goes to the person who has achieved the highest overall score average in the areas of firearms, physical fitness, driving, and academics. This cadet will also have the distinction of being number 1 in seniority for their class. With an overall class average of 95.54, the valedictorian for Class 44 is Cadet Dylan Berryman.
Good afternoon. I'm Dylan Berryman, and our DIs love mind games. So last week they told us the top 4 cadets in our class, and they said, I want all of you to write a speech, and you'll find out who the valedictorian is on Thursday. So yesterday we were all expecting to find out who it was, and at the end of the night they still didn't tell us. So I didn't learn I was valedictorian until about 3 hours ago. So I apologize for my nerves, but I have a quick word I want to say with Class 44. So first off, I'd like to congratulate Class 44. It's hard to believe that just 6 months ago we had almost double the individuals we have on this stage today. Just 27 weeks ago, we were all strangers, nervous about what each day of the academy would bring. When I think back to the academy, I vividly remember the first day. On that day, we would all find ourselves standing in formation in the fallout room, a room which we would all get to know very well soon enough. In this room, we would patiently wait for Sheriff Gonzalez to enter and inspect our uniforms before we met our drill instructors for the first time. I nervously waited my turn, watching Sheriff Gonzalez inspect each cadet in line out of the corner of my eye. Once it was my turn for inspection, I immediately saw that Sheriff Gonzalez looked down at what I thought were my perfectly polished boots. In an instant, he said to me, "Did you walk through dirt to get here?" At this moment, I knew it was going to be a really long day. Minutes later, we would have our first introduction to the drill instructors, promptly followed by the most I've ever been yelled at in my entire life. The yelling would be accompanied by vigorous exercise. Together, these would create what we would come to know as guidance sessions or team building sessions. Little did I know how much guidance we would receive in the following weeks. Myself and my fellow cadets quickly became familiar with early mornings and long days. Each mistake we made would increase the length of our days and intensity of our guidance sessions. The days would quickly begin to weigh on me. On days when the entire class believed they had behaved and done nothing wrong, the drill instructors had other ideas. I remember when our entire class passed our first test, I thought to myself, there's no way they can be mad at us for this. I was wrong. Drill instructor Mora would walk into the fallout room and say, "Congratulations, you passed one stupid test, you still suck." There were a few other choice words said during that conversation, but I think I'll leave those out. DM Mora and DI Chavez would routinely tell us that we suck throughout the academy. We were told to wake up every morning, look in the mirror, and tell ourselves we suck. At the time, I thought, well, that was kind of rude. It wouldn't click with me until later, the purpose of telling ourselves that we suck. By telling yourself that you suck, you have a self-realization that you can always be better. When you think you've been the best you can possibly be, there's always more that you can do better. After I looked in the mirror and told myself I suck every morning, I found myself questioning if I had made the right decision to be here. I wanted to be a cop, but I didn't realize how hard the sheriff's office was going to push me. Every morning would be a challenge for me, especially just waking up. On days when I would lose sight on the end goal, I would think back to what I was told during my pre-hire phase at the Metro Air Support Unit. These words were told to me by Lieutenant Fred Beers, who is sadly no longer with us. I doubt when he spoke to me that he thought I would even remember his words, but what he said to me was, "I just kept showing up until they told me to stop coming." So that's what I did. It would be hard to get out of bed in the mornings, and we would all be fearful of what each day had to offer, but this wouldn't matter. To get through each difficult day, we would have to first show up. Showing up is half the battle, and once I had shown up, there was no way I was going to leave until I was told. Also, while at the air unit, I would have the pleasure of meeting Under Sheriff Laird Corrin, who was also no longer with us. Under Sheriff Corrin was one of the helicopter pilots for the air unit. On my first day as a pre-hire, I had introduced myself to Under Sheriff and allowed my new job, Jitters, to come. He would ask me, "Do you want to go out for a ride today?" I would immediately respond with absolutely. So, not to rub it in anyone's face on the stage, but at your pre-hire position while you were doing paperwork and filing whenever, I was riding in a helicopter. So while I was in the helicopter, I thought to myself, if this is the experience some pre-hire nobody gets on his first day at the sheriff's office, then what other exciting things will I be able to do as an actual deputy? So these events are what got me through my days. While the end seemed so far away at the time, the best I could do was just show up every day and do what I was told. And when the days began to drag, I would remind myself of all the exciting things I could experience once I had finished the academy. And so here we are, all sitting on this stage, a day which we thought would never come. We all know how difficult it was to get here, but I'm proud of each and every one of us that has made it here. When the work days get tough and you don't know if you made the right decision, just remember showing up is over half the battle, and by continuing to push forward, you have the opportunity to experience amazing things. So we all know what the DRs are going to tell us when we walk over there and shake their hands, so I won't steal their thunder. But thank you to the drill instructors and all the academy staff, and to all my fellow cadets. I can't wait to see you out there. Thank you.
Now administering the oath of office for Class 44 is the Honorable Judge Cindy Leos. Judge Cindy Leos is from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and attended Moriarty High School. She received her bachelor's degree in sociology from the University of Colorado in Boulder, Colorado in 1997, and earned her Juris Doctorate from Chicago Kent College of Law in Chicago, Illinois in 2002. Her professional experience includes civil defense in Chicago and Albuquerque, children's court attorney for Child Protective Services with Children, Youth, and Families Division, felony attorney for the New Mexico Office of the Public Defender, and before taking the bench, solo practitioner concentrating in criminal defense. Judge Leos was elected on November 8, 2016 to the Criminal Division in the 2nd Judicial District Court. Judge Leos also presides over the Young Adult Court Diversion Program, which she assisted in developing in 2017. In her spare time, Cindy enjoys spending time with her 4 dogs, 2 kids, and husband, yes, in that order. She is also an avid runner, cyclist, motorcyclist, and enjoys crocheting. Your Honor, the class is yours.
Repeat after me. I state your name. Having been appointed to the office of Deputy Sheriff in the County of Bernalillo, State of New Mexico, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the laws of the State of New Mexico, and faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sheriff Gonzalez, as the Director of Training for the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office Regional Training Academy, I hereby certify and attest that these cadets have exceeded the requirements necessary to be certified as peace officers as per New Mexico State Statute, Section 29-7-6. Cadets, prepare to receive your badges in recognition of your accomplishments.
Class 44. Okay, good. Right, face. Forward, march.
For those of you that will be pinning a badge on your deputy, when they line up on my left here at the steps, you may stand next to them, and when they arrive on stage, you can walk up with them.
Yeah, go ahead. Just wanted to bring to your attention, we said there's 12 deputies graduating today, but there's 12 plus 1. We have a reserve deputy that has 300 hours of training that is a doctor from the University of New Mexico that has also been sworn in. And I just want to recognize him and his family because this is an unpaid position. This is something that he volunteers, and knowing that he's going to keep your loved one safe in the event something tragic happens. So if we could give a round of applause for Christian Mateo Garcia and his family. This is something that I feel that there's nothing probably more committed to the volunteerism of any agency or department or organization to this country. So let's give them a loud round of applause, please.
As I call your name, please come up on stage to be pinned. Deputy Jose Refugio Aguilar. Not yet? Just stand over here real quick. Okay. Go Deputy Russell Jacob Ames. Deputy Leopoldo Aragon III, pinned by Albuquerque Police Department Officer Felix Dominguez.
You guys can take a picture first. I'll take the get one more.
Deputy Jonathan Archibek Shoemaker. Deputy Dylan Jared Berryman. Deputy Brian Armando Castillo. Pinned by Albuquerque Police Department Officer Walter Prieto. Deputy Andrew Jacob Montoya. Pinned by Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office Deputy Dominic Armijo. The applause keep cutting me off. I can't. So keep interrupting me. Okay, jump in there for a third one. There you go. Deputy Patricio Gabriel Montoya. Deputy Ryan Anthony Romero. Deputy Mary Callie Roseman. Pinned by retired Albuquerque Police Department Deputy Chief William Roseman.
And then jump in for one more.
Deputy Alyssa Mercedes Salazar. Deputy Eric McDavid Way. Pinned by his father, Federal Agent Peter Way. Reserve Deputy Dr. Christian Mateo Garcia. Pinned by Deputy Joshua Mora.
All right, jump in there for a third.
Class 44. Attention!
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present to you the deputies of Class 44. We can do that later. Yeah, that's fine. Displayed up here on stage, you will notice a flag that sits next to Class 44. During the past 22 years, the cadet classes of the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office have made it tradition to design and display the guidon flag in a manner that represents their class motto and the spirit of the Sheriff's Office. The guidon is one of the first and most important items the cadet class takes responsibility for. It represents unity and a responsibility to something bigger than the individual. As the cadets go through their training program, they are constantly reminded by the guidon of the family that we as law enforcement officers strive to maintain amongst each other. They are reminded of the sacrifice we make to give ourselves to a life of service. At this time, Class 44 will retire their class guidon. The retirement of the guidon signifies a passing of the torch back to the Regional Training Academy as we prepare to present the next group of individuals with the challenge of becoming professional law enforcement officers. Senior Drill Instructor Mora, retire the guidon. Senior Drill Instructor, give your final dismissal.
Class 44. Attention! Right, base! Dismiss!
To our dear friends and family and colleagues who shared this day with you, be very proud of the new deputies as they begin their life of service. You are just as responsible for their success today. May you all serve 25 full years of honorable service. Thank you for sharing your loved one with us. It means the world. Thank you. This concludes our ceremony. Have a great day.